to learn how to conduct in 3 different patterns. The first one is 4/4, the second one is 3/4, and then the last one we're going to learn about today is 2/4. So let's get to it. Alrighty, now let's go over some of the basics of conducting. Let's start with the invisible planes. So the invisible planes is what we use as conductors to sort of keep track mentally where we're placing our beats and where we're basing our ictuses off of. So you can imagine a line going directly across your torso straight out and then directly through the middle of your body. This right quadrant, top right quadrant, is going to be where the majority of your beat patterns are going to happen. The topmost part of it, we're going to consider a danger zone. You don't want to conduct up there because if you do, your beat pattern is going to be very unclear and it's going to be hard for people to see. The same thing with all the way furthest right. You don't want to go too far out with your beat pattern either because it's going to be hard for the people who are sitting on the left to see what you're doing, but even more so, very uncomfortable for you to conduct. Your perfect area is going to be right in the middle here where I've just circled. This is where you're going to want to aim to have the majority of your movement happening because that'll be where everybody can see it and where you're going to feel the most comfortable conducting. Alrighty, so just like we mentioned in the conducting lab, your first beat, you want to make sure you're staying on that plane, so you don't want to go like below your torso and you don't want to go like above your head. So just making sure you stay in this nice like area. It's great because if you go too high, then it's going to be hard for your orchestra to follow you. And if you go too low, then the people in the back of the orchestra, like your low brass and your percussion, aren't going to be able to follow you because they can't see what you're doing if you're doing it down here. If you're doing it up here, you just look like a crazy person and nobody wants a crazy person. The first pattern we're going to learn about today is 4/4. Alrighty, so let's jump right into it. Our first pattern we're looking at today is 4/4. 4/4 is your most basic. It's going to be your go-to. It's your home base. That's the one we're looking at the most. Any song you listen to on the radio today, 4/4. Any song you're probably singing, 4/4. Anything, just really imagine it. It's going to be in 4/4 99.99% of the time. Your basic songs are in 4/4. To make this a little easier for you, I'm going to color code each one of our beats so that way you can visually see all the motion and movement that happens on the beat and in between moving to new beats. As you can see in that bottom corner, I have color coded it for you. Let's start with beat 1. Now, mentally, we're going to place beat 1 right on that plane. It's going to be in the center of our overall pattern. To get there, we're going to do a downward motion. Towards that, we're going to hit the invisible plane right there in the center. That's where 1's going to be. Going into 2, we're going to move to the left a little bit of ways, making sure not to cross that plane going down the middle of our body. 2 is going to land right about there, a little bit to the left of 1, towards us. You're going to go up. It's going to look almost like a hill. You hit 1, move to the left a little bit of ways for beat 2. Now, for beat 3, we're going to be moving to the right. Coming out of 2, it's going to look a little something like this. Moving to the right, we make a hill motion to 3. We hit 3 on the invisible plane. You notice that beats 2 and 3 are an equal distance away from 1. That's very important. Beat 4 is going to hit in the same place that beat 1 hit. However, our ricochet or our coming out of 4 is going to be higher up than are coming out of any other beat. You just saw in the conducting lab the basic breakdown of a 4/4 pattern. So now we're going to do it in real person. So, like we said, your first beat pattern, 1, it's going to be sort of right in that center if you're going to base it off the rest of your points. Centered. 1. 2 is going to be a little ways over this way. You want to make sure you're not crossing this chest plane. Remember, you saw on the person, you don't want to cross the chest plane, because if you're going like this, no one's going to be able to follow you. So exactly going from 1 to 2 is going to look sort of like this. 1, 2. From 2, we're going to go to the right, 3. And if you notice, if I were to draw out the dots like they were in the diagram, 2 and 3 are about an equal distance away from 1. Just fun symmetry stuff. So 1, 2, 3. Now 4 is going to be interesting because 4 lands in the same place as 1. However, your what's the word for it? Your ricochet, I guess you can call, your ricochet out of it is going to be higher than the ricochet coming out of the rest of your beats. So if you watch, you can sort of see that. So I'll count it out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see when I'm going for my beat, I'm doing a nice little like flick of the wrist, just to show that I'm hitting that point. The beat's there. It's clear that this is where my beat is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next pattern we're going to learn about is 3/4. Alrighty, now we're moving on to 3/4. Your basic waltz is in 3/4. That's a great example. Let's get rid of beat 4 in our little diagram on the bottom because we don't need it. We were only counting to 3. 1, 2, 3. So let's start with beat 1. Just like in our previous example, beat 1 is going to be sort of centered straight down. You're going to make a downward motion going into 1. Alrighty, now let's look for beat 2. This time beat 2 is going to head to the right since we're only dealing with 3 counts. So beat 2 is going to be sort of where we placed 3 last time, to the right a little bit of ways away from 1. We're making that hill motion to beat 2. Beat 2 is landing on that invisible plane, just like so. Beat 3 is going to be placed right where beat 1 was. We're going to move back to the left to where beat 1 was. Our coming out of 3, just like how we came out of beat 4, is going to be higher than when we came out of any of the other beats. Alrighty, so just like you saw in the diagram, we just went over a 3/4 pattern. So now we're gonna break it down in real life style. So exactly like your 4/4 pattern, your beat 1 is gonna be nice and centered. If you're looking at our line again, sort of centered. 1. This time though, since we're only doing 3 beats and not 4, our 2 is gonna go to the right a ways. So it's gonna go 1, 2, 2 right there. Similar to how 4 was in our 4-4 beat pattern, beat 3 is going to land sort of in the same place as 1. However, our ricochet out of it is going to be a little bit higher than the previous 2 beats. So from 2 to 3, it's going to go 2, 3, 1. All together, that looks a little something like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, keeping in mind my imaginary plane, and I'm making sure that my arm isn't 90 degrees. It's not down here. It's not up here. It's not off in Neverland. It's focused, it's centered, it's where the whole orchestra would be able to see it. So we have beats 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go. You just got 2 out of the 3 patterns. Let's move on to 2-4. The final pattern we're going to learn about today is 2-4. Dun, 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 dun. If you ever wondered how your boy Sousa does it, he does it in 2-4. Any of your basic marches is in 2-4. Here's how we conduct in that pattern. Just like last time, our beat 1's going to be placed in the same spot, sort of centered. We're going to make that downward motion towards it. We're going to hit that invisible plane. Bang, you got beat 1. Notice how when we come out of beat 1, we're going up into the left. It looks sort of like the letter V, as in Valentine. We're making that V shape coming out of 1. Looking like this. Down, up to the left. Beat 2 is going to hit in the same place where we hit beat 1. How do we get to beat 2? Well, let me show you. We're going to come out of where we left 1. We're going to head down to that point where beat 1 was. That's where we're going to place our downbeat. Is going to be 2. Coming out of 2, we're going to go directly up, just like our previous examples. That coming out of it, that ricochet is going to be higher than our ricochet out of 1 was. Diagram, we just went over how to conduct 2-4. Now we're going to do it in real life. You ready? Let's go. So, if I'm standing, just like I am, ready to conduct my 2-4 pattern, similar to how beat 1 was in the previous 2, beat 1's going to be nice and centered. So it's going to be 1, lands in the center. I'm not going underneath my plane at all. It's there. 1. A little bit different. My ricochet out of 1 is gonna, instead of going up and out, it's just gonna go out to the right a little bit. So I'll do it very slow motion. Maybe I can work on editing in even slower than slower motion, but very carefully, R1, the beat hits there, my hand keeps traveling. So by the time I'm about to get ready to 2, my hand is over this way to the right. 2, we're gonna approach 2 from our ricochet out of 1. So we're here coming out of 1. 2 is gonna land in the same place as 1. Our ricochet is gonna be a little higher than it was coming through 1. So again, we're gonna look at it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. See, how it almost creates a V shape. If I was to just do it in one place, it would look like I was conducting in one, which would be very confusing if we were doing a piece in two. In cut time, it would look a little weird if I was just 1, 2, 1, 2. By going out on my ricochet from 1, it helps to separate beats 1 and 2, making it a little more clear for the orchestra or whoever you're conducting to see. We got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And with that completes our video today. Thank you for watching. Hope you found it to be very informational and fun.